still one question that is, well, mainstream media doesn't pay that much attention to these genres and maybe other genres too. Is it lacking or is it okay? Do you think, well, every genre has its own?
We seem to be doing just fine, regardless. You know, you take a look at these festivals out here. With mainstream media attention or without mainstream media attention, they're outdrawing pop acts. They're outdrawing, you know, hip-hop and R&B acts. There isn't, you know, Rock 'em Ring the other day. It was well over 100,000 people. I don't see that happening in the other genres. With all due respect to them, and I think that they're incredibly talented, and I don't mean it in any way negatively. All I'm saying is that even though the mainstream media hasn't given, historically, hard rock and heavy metal the true attention and love that we all feel it deserves, I think that, you know, an unstoppable force will bludgeon its way through, and that's really what hard rock and heavy metal is.
So that's the thing. So that's the thing that attracts people. You mean that what you described, the energy, the power.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a different type of release. There's a different type of empowerment. You can, you know, it's, don't get me wrong. There's a place and there's a time for pop. I listen to some of it. I am a fan of many artists in many genres. I have a very eclectic taste in music. But there's time for dessert and there's time for meat and potatoes. And sometimes you need the meat and potatoes to actually survive, right?
That's true. There's one question that I read through your life story. I don't know if you want to talk about it. If you don't want to talk about it, you say so. I don't know if I pronounced it right. You were trained as Hazzan? Or?
As a Hazzan, yeah.
Hazzan.
A cantor.
What is it, and is it something that you maybe used for your...
Yes, it's someone that leads the Jewish congregation in prayer.
Yeah.
And a lot of the prayer services are sung.
Yeah.
So it requires a little bit of a classical training and background. So that's what I first started singing publicly in.
And what did you learn there?
How to control pitch, how to do variations of different runs of melody, how to travel within specific octaves, and you know, to be able to manipulate the voice, to have certain intonations. Cantorial delivery can be very, it's pseudo-operatic, but it can sometimes be similar to the way, how can I describe it to you? When somebody like, to go to a completely different genre, when somebody like, let's say, Christina Aguilera will do her, all kinds of different runs and all that kind of stuff, a lot of that is incorporated into cantorial delivery, so that each cantor makes their rendition of whatever they're doing unique and individual in their own. So I learned a lot of that. Like if you'll hear in Stupefy, okay, in the middle of the song you hear me say the word tifached, okay, which is a Hebrew word. And that whole run, that's the type of intonation, okay, and that note bending that you hear, that came from that background.
Did it influence you? I mean, does it still influence you to this day when you write songs?
It depends on the music. It depends on the particular song. It always stays a part of me, but you know, music isn't something that you force. So even if it's a part of me, it's not like I'm trying to shove pieces of that background into places that don't feel right. If it feels right and it inspires that sort of delivery, then sure.
Is it still something that you do? That Hazzan?
No.
That could be. I don't know.
No. I'm not a religious guy. I don't. My only prayer is pretty personal between me and the powers that be. So.
Yeah, but that means that you believe in something more.
I still do. Yeah, I still do. Yeah.
May I ask, does it fit to a certain religion, or is it
not really? And you know, my heritage is what my heritage is, but I don't really practice any religion. I don't intend on instilling any set of religious discipline into my child either. I'm going to let him choose for himself. I intend to teach him to respect both his mother and his father's heritage and our backgrounds.
What is your wife's heritage?
My wife is Japanese.
Japanese. Yeah.
So, like for instance, we've taken him to the Shinto temple in Honolulu, where her parents live, on New Year's. That's like a thing to do. Just because it's something to do to respect the heritage, and it's just symbolic. And and on the other end of things, when with my parents we've lit Hanukkah candles together with him. So I just want him to know where he came from and respect both sides. But when we're on our own and there isn't other sides of the family involved, I don't really do anything like that. I just want him to know. I don't want to force any sort of set of religious beliefs, since I don't actually embrace any of my own. I don't feel it's right to try and push something on my kid.
But how you look back then on your own upbringing? Is it something that you cherish, or is it something that you rebelled against?
There's positives and negatives to everything in life. I think that all of life experience really makes us who we are. So I don't, even though I can view some of it as traumatizing or stifling or whatever, but it's part of what makes us who we are. So I don't really regret any of it.
No, but I think when you're older, maybe what you thought 10 or 20 years ago was stifling or maybe rebelling against, maybe you put it into perspective.
I can definitely put into perspective the justification as to why I rebelled against it, yeah. Okay. That's for sure.
There were certain things that I thought what's interesting that before you started Disturbed, you were a healthcare administrator.
Yes.
And your dad was too.
Yeah, way long before I became one. He actually started out when he came to the United States working in healthcare. And he ended up going into, way before Blockbuster and all sorts of video store chains were in existence, he was one of the first videotape rental places in Chicago. He had a chain called Doc Edison Video. Then he got into the natural gas procurement business. So he's done a whole bunch of things, but very, very early on, yes, he was involved in healthcare as well.
Will you help him to become the mayor of Los Angeles?
That's entirely up to him.
But do you want to help him?
You know what? I wish him all the best. I truly do. And whatever help I can be, to my family, I'm always willing to help. I'm not going to go campaign for him because I don't really get involved in anything politically anymore these days. But I wish him all the best. The city of Los Angeles could certainly do much worse than to have my father at the helm. So
you say, well, you don't do that much political campaign anymore. How come? Why?
You know what? I still follow politics very avidly. I'm a news junkie, and I still am obsessed with world events and with politics in general. But my focus is on my family. My focus is on my music, and the days of me expressing my opinion of things publicly are just well behind me. I'm sort of over all that. I prefer to be judged by my work and my art and my performance than by my opinions. So it's just something I've put to the side.
And when did you decide this?
A few years back. I had enough.
Was there anything that happened, or maybe thought?
It just had kind of gotten to critical mass. Social media can kind of be a cesspool that you can drown in from time to time, and it was taking too much time away from my family, and time that I would have been better spent with my son and my wife, and with my art. So I just kind of divorced myself from it.